my name is Diego Medina, and I am a member of the Piro-Manso-Tiwa tribe of Las Cruces, and I'm an artist, a poet, an educator, a historian, and I'm also currently serving as tepo for our tribal community. My work looks a lot at how to bring together the prayerful relationship we have to place with the mystical relationship we have to place in our current lives, and how that is connected to our ancestral past and of course to our futures. So this piece is called "Long Has the Light Waited to Lay Itself Upon You." And there is a profound and mystical collaboration between landscape and spirit that transcends our relationships to place by moving through multiple strata of timelines that exist in particular locations. So for this piece, we're looking at, in some sense, our relationship to the Camino Real route, a lamentably contentious, albeit sacred site that has multiple layers of understanding and meaning for our present experience with the route. So it was, of course, one of the oldest ancestral migrational highways and trading routes that allowed us to interact with relatives, to trade materials with each other, that then eventually ended up becoming, a glorified slave trade route, and then ultimately a highway, a literal highway. And I think all these different layers of use have a particular relationship with parts of us. And even though our physical bodies exist in one timeline, our spiritual relationship to these sites have so many stratified connections that need to be explored and understood. In this piece, I'm using the colors and the composition, and of course the striped pattern to kind of speak to how these stratas coexist within us, and how our relationship to place is not only transfixed to a particular location and period in time, but through all timelines that we've had relationships with these spaces in. So the reason I decided to use footprints as a symbol for speaking to our stratified historical timelines is because I've been working as a tribal collaborator on the White Sands Footprint site, which of course, as of now, is the oldest archaeological site in the continental United States that dates our presence here in the Americas well beyond 25,000 years ago. And it's a really significant finding because it's in our tribal ancestral homelands, 30 minutes, 45 minutes from where I was born. And yet it's also 15 minutes away from the closest Border Patrol checkpoint. And so this footprint site falls along the ancient salt trading route that connects Mexico to the Tularosa Basin, to the Salinas area, to the Galisteo Basin, and then into the plains. And it's another migrational highway alongside the Camino Real that has connected communities for beyond thousands of years. And to see how much emphasis this site has gotten in the scientific world, while also how much neglect the relationship it has to the borderlands has gotten, to me is something really poignant to point out. Because the borderlands has been seen as kind of a desert wasteland with a lot of political misfortune and contention, and yet it's a really sacred, holy place for a number of tribes throughout the Southwest and beyond. And I think the White Sands site is an important site in showing people how important the borderlands is to understanding its sacred significance to all of our people, and to carry forward into the future, looking at our relationship to a site like this and how it informs our relationship to land and place in the desert and in the Southwest and in southern New Mexico in particular, a region that has gotten a lot of neglect and damage. And I also included a series of poems that are written in the form of love letters, again lamenting a lost love that occurred during a time when New Mexico is fractured, and the Camino Real route played a significant role in that. And so Upon the Pueblo Revolt of 1680, of course, the hemispheres of New Mexico, being the northern and the southern hemisphere, kind of split apart, and there was a huge exodus of people down to Paso del Norte, including our tribal people. So our Piro and Tiwa Pueblos from central New Mexico, of course, were exiled and moved to present-day Juarez and El Paso. And so with the poetry component, I looked at particular sites along the Camino Real that are only indicated by mile markers and created poetic letters to a mystical and mythological lover to sort of tell the story of how this event and this fracture in New Mexico has affected people through time. So the poetry chapbook is going to go alongside this mural that looks at how we've walked through many different landscapes and have felt the strata within ourselves, and how that plays a role in our present relationships and daily lives in these spaces in the contemporary context we're living in. So the poetry chapbook has a different title. It's called My Baby One in an El Camino That's Real, and it's, of course, symbolically about the Camino Real, using an El Camino as the primary symbol for how that route is understood through these lovers.